Welcome to Worth It or Worthless, a show where every couple weeks we pull a game from my own personal collection of retro games, take off our nostalgia tinted glasses and decide, is the game good by today's standards, is worth the price of admission. We talk about what the game does well, what the game doesn't do so well, and the things that are just plain weird. I'm your Stan, joined as always by my friend Jordan. Jordan, what did we get into today?
Today we played Comix Zone for the Sega Genesis. Comix Zone is quite literally the story of Sketch Turner, a down-on-his-luck comic book artist, freelance rock and roll musician, and lover of microwave pizza, who gets sucked into his own comic book after experiencing a freak lightning storm incident.
So my favorite part of Sketch Turner's backstory.
Yeah, for sure.
Freelance rock musician.
Yeah, like who... who out there is hiring a rock musician? Like,
it's because it doesn't say he's like studio musician. He's a freelance rock musician.
He's not like just a touring musician who goes. It's freelance. Like, we need somebody to play rock and roll music
at a wedding.
Yeah, and he's not he's not. It could just be lost in translation. Like they meant he is a musician for hire.
No, I don't think it's lost in translation.
It was just straight up freelance.
I think that this was not made by Sega of Japan. I think it was Sega in America.
Oh.
I think so, if I'm not mistaken.
I think you're right. I
think the Sonic Spinball team had something to do with this.
Yeah, it's interesting that our only two games of Sega Genesis this year are both. They have a lot in common. If you read the Wikipedia page, I saw this game got delayed so they could finish Sonic Spinball, and then that same team came and worked on this game.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that.
Well, let's just get into the fun facts then. Sega Technical Institute is the developer on this one, who also made our last game, Sonic Spinball.
Which really unfortunate.
On both accounts.
Initials for this company, especially in the early 90s.
Published by Sega. This one was released in August of 95 North America, September of 95 in Japan, October of 95 in Europe, and the Wikipedia just said 1995 in Australia.
Oh.
So.
Look at that.
Yeah, all right.
When was the Japan release?
September of 1995. So a month later. It all came out about the same time.
Okay.
So, Jordan, Sega applied for and was granted a patent for a video game system for creating a simulated comic book game.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting. I read that too. It's like, wait a minute, they patented this? Of turning a comic book into a video game?
Apparently.
It mentioned, I saw when I was doing some quick research, some cursory research on Wikipedia about how this style of video game had been used previously in Ocean Software's Batman the Caped Crusader in 1988.
Okay.
Which I can't imagine that would have been great in 1988, this kind of style. But I really like this style, like how they took the comic book and turned it into a game. That aspect of it is really well done. And I kind of wish... Sega has the patent for this. Why didn't they make more games in this style?
I have no idea. This game came out in 1995. I think it got delayed and stuff. And I think this game actually came out after maybe the Sega Saturn. The PlayStation launched. It was a really late Sega Genesis game. So I don't think it was successful or as successful as they would have liked. I think the Wikipedia said that they did not break even. I think they lost money on it.
Yeah, that that quote was actually really good. It says, according to Stevens, who I think was one of the main guy who made this game, it says, according to Stevens, he asked Hector, I don't know who all these people are. He asked somebody at Sega if Comix Zone had broken even, to which Hector responded in the negative. Stevens also said that the game's late release delayed STI's movement to developing Saturn software, and that neither STI nor the Saturn ever recovered from that.
Yeah.
So, this game didn't break even. They released late. They didn't get to start working on Sega Saturn software, and that was apparently the downfall of the Saturn. It was because we didn't have the geniuses behind Sonic Spinball and Comix Zone working on Saturn software.
That was the downfall of Sega.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you could make that
Actually,
argument.
yeah. Well, I don't know. The Dreamcast is well loved, but I don't know. The Saturn was a mess.
I wonder if there's any conspiracy theorists out there who have put this all together. This game, Comix Zone, was delayed because they had to finish Sonic Spinball, which if you listen to our last episode, isn't a great game. It's not like, oh my goodness, this is going to save Sega kind of game. So imagine Sonic Spinball never exists. They get to work on this passion projects, and Comix Zone comes out a little bit earlier, and it actually does well because they can promote it before their new console comes out. Then the Sega Technical Institute is able to give more of their time to making the Comix Zone sequel, which they wanted to make on the Saturn and never got to make, and that saved the Saturn, and all of a sudden the Saturn and Sega is the biggest thing ever, and Nintendo dies instead. And all of this comes down to Sonic Spinball existing.
The problem with the Sega Saturn was it never got Comix Zone 2.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. There's an argument to be made that Sonic Spinball is what killed Sega.
Yeah, okay.
I'm not saying it's a good argument. I'm just saying it's there to be made if you wanted to.
Jordan, the concept originated from an Amiga demo video from 1992 titled Joe Pencil Trapped in the Comix Zone.
Yeah.
Did you look into this at all?
I saw a little bit of the like demo prototype gameplay for that.
Yeah, there was like a minute and 20-ish second long video where it was just like, I don't know if it was gameplay or if it was purely just somebody animated like a
good point.
A potential thing of what this game would look like. But I was kind of impressed when I watched that video of like, oh, they turned this into a real video game.
Yeah.
But I think it was like in game development, you get prototypes, which are like these early versions of games that are kind of like, this is what the thing is supposed to be.
Yeah.
I was impressed at how much it actually made it into the final game based on this like short minute video of like, this is a video game. Like, turn that into a video game. That looks pretty fun.
Well, it was their pitch and it got picked up. So, I mean, they did a good job. Joe Pencil. We hardly knew you, but I think I like Sketch Turner a little bit better.
Sketch Turner. What was the girl's name?
Cyan. Alyssa Cyan.
Alyssa Cyan. Like all the nods or whatever to just comics and printing and the whole thing.
Yep.
It's very clever.
It is. It definitely is clever.
Now, Jordan.
Dan.
The inspiration for the story comes from the music video for Take On Me by Aha.
I love that because the music video is like all sketchy and comic booky. It's like a comic book guy falls in love with a real life girl.
Yep. I watched the video today.
And then they just flipped that and made that the story for Comic Zone, where a real life guy falls in love with his own comic book girl, which is kind of a little bit creepy. Yeah. But she ends up being a real girl.
Yeah. And
Spoilers.
She ends up being the Secretary of Defense or whatever.
Yeah. Listen. Which I'm kind of bummed that
in one ending she does.
Yeah, there's true. I'm kind of bummed that we'll never get Tron 3, because at the end of Tron 2, the girl gets taken out of the computer. Now she's in the real world, and I would love to know if they would have taken some inspiration from Comix Zone and if she would have ended up being the Secretary of Defense of the United States, because that's a nice little. If you're a comic book or a computer character and you get pulled into the real world, I think that you should be rewarded with some sort of high-level military position in the United States government. I just think that's right.
First of all, I still haven't seen Tron ever.
You don't need to see Tron, but you do need to see the second one, Tron Legacy. It's on Disney Plus.
Maybe
the soundtrack alone is worth it.
Is that Daft Punk?
Yeah.
Did we talk about this like within the last like couple months?
I don't know, maybe. It's like really good.
I was reaching for Daft Punk and you're like, Daft Punk. And that sounds like a thing from a podcast recently.
There you go.
I don't know. But more fun fact about Take On Me by Aha. I'm not a big fan of 80s music, but this is one of the songs that I'm always like happy that when it comes on something.
Oh yeah, if you don't like that song, what's wrong with you?
I don't know, man. 80s music can we won't get into it.
That's fine.
Yeah, but Take On Me is a bop.
Yeah, for sure.
Jordan, in an effort to show how edgy and cool the game was, according to
I love
Wikipedia, I don't know if it's
it's in quotes. Edgy and cool are in quotes. So somebody had to have said it at some point.
Yeah, they included a rock CD with the game with bands like Danzig, Jesus and Mary Chain, and Love and Rockets. So it's like I mentioned to you that I've been listening to the book Console Wars lately. And it's funny to go back to that time to hear how Sega was trying to like take down Nintendo and design Sonic the Hedgehog. And it's hilarious to me now and like super cringy to hear how like the attitude of the 90s or like whatever, just positioning edgy and cool, and like how much sort of marketing and the sort of Sega trying to figure out like, who is Sega for? Is it for the jock? Is it for like who, like this, just the language and the thought process behind it, and then to read like they wanted this game to come off as edgy and cool. It's like, that's a very
So we're going to give you a
thing.
sampler CD with Danzig and the Jesus and Mary chain. Yeah, I think it's kind of funny that like perception, like going all the way back to here in 95, probably earlier, of, you know, Sega cool, or all these other game systems cool, and Nintendo makes kiddie games and no one cares about them, and they're not going to be, and then Nintendo's just like, yes we do. And we're gonna keep doing it for another 30 years, and you're gonna love it. They just, instead of like trying to, I mean, Nintendo did a little bit of edgy stuff, tried to, but they know who they are and they've stuck with it, and it's worked out for them.
Well, it's funny, like in Console Wars, they're talking about they would do this comparison with Sonic and Super Mario World, and like it's funny to hear the story of Sega and how lame they thought like Super Mario World was and all this stuff, and it's like, Sonic is crazy and he's fast and you've never seen anything like this, and look how lame this is. And 80% of
blue.
People, he used to be a teal, I think, at first.
All right.
Apparently he had fangs and a girlfriend named Madonna.
Oh.
And like, it's funny. I want to go look up the original concept for Sonic, because they had to like change a bunch of things, because apparently the Sega of Japan had this idea that Sonic would be this really cool character, and then Sega of America is like, that really won't work in America very well. We're going to make all these changes. And apparently there was a lot of infighting between the Japanese and American Sega branches. And like, Console Wars is a really interesting and really good book. I'm not all the way through it yet, but I highly recommend checking it out.
Whatever gripes you might have about Sonic and Sonic games, you can't argue that he's a cool looking character. He is. Like, Sonic is a good character, like a good design. And it's kind of funny, like it took them some revisions to get him to that point, because we also saw that with the live action Sonic. Like, man, revision 1 live action Sonic is horrifying.
Have you seen Rescue Rangers yet? The Disney
Not
Plus
yet, but I have seen the clip of first revision
Ugly Sonic, as they call him.
Ugly Sonic. I love that Disney got the rights to put Ugly Sonic in that movie.
I don't know. Disney pulled a lot of stuff into that movie, because there's a ton of references of just random stuff, like even South Park, and like, I don't know what studios own what, but Disney pulled in like Masters of the Universe, and I'm trying to think, because I watched it a few weeks ago. If you haven't seen the new Rescue Rangers, watch it. I need fantastic.
To. It's on my list.
It's really funny. But anyways, moving on. That's all the fun facts I think I got right now, Jordan.
I honestly truly believe that those might be some of the funnest facts we've ever had, because those are all great. How do you get aha Danzig in the same sentence, you know, or the same story?
Yeah.
And Sega, not just asking for a patent, but receiving a patent for a comic book video game system, and then never using it, despite making a whole bunch of comic book video games.
Yeah, it literally says video game system for creating a simulated comic book game.
Yeah.
Like, what does that mean? Is that a piece of software?
I don't know. You have to assume that it would be games like Comix Zone.
Yeah. I don't know. Although I do feel like there's this format is kind of ripe for like an indie developer to sort of come back with a kind of game like this and to do it in a different and interesting way.
We've talked about Comic Zones for about like 15 minutes now and haven't mentioned what it is, which is a comic book action platformer.
I think we'll get into it.
Okay, we'll get into it
because I got some what the game does well.
Oh, all right.
That might touch on this.
Well, then why don't we transition over to that way?
All right, let's talk about what the game does well. All right, Jordan, the first thing that I just alluded to was the concept of Comix Zone is something that I really like about it. It's like it's like a beat 'em up inside of a comic book where you're going from like panel to panel fighting different. You are Sketch Turner and a lightning bolt strikes and your villain comes out of the comic book and he says, I'm going to send you into it and take over the world. I'm not powerful enough to do anything besides draw stuff in this comic book to attack you, but go into the comic book world and fight comics.
Which is really interesting because if you read the manual starts with the comic book. It's like a, 6-8 page comic book.
Yeah.
And it's like showing how the New World Empire is losing. They're losing to Mortis. And they're like, we need a secret weapon. We need a hero. And it's like,
they see that hero.
And then you see like the silhouette of Sketch Turner, and so it's like both the bad guy and the good guys want to get you into the comic book, and it's interesting. And so then you end up in the comic book, and you are Sketch Turner, now superhero. And you got to fight.
Not yet.
Not while you're working on it.
You're working on it.
You're
Between
working on
levels,
leveling up.
It shows you your progress, your percentage meter of how close you are to a superhero.
Yeah. And so it's kind of like a beat 'em up mashed with an action platformer mashed up with the puzzle platformer. It tries to do a lot.
Yeah, it's
oh, and you also have branching paths because you can choose to go. Sometimes you can choose to like go into a new panel. So you got all sorts of different stuff going on.
That's the second point of what the game does well, Jordan.
Branching paths.
Yeah, branching paths.
Yeah.
I liked that. You're like fighting through a comic book, and then it's like, do you want to go right or do you want to go down? It's like, I don't know.
Yeah, I guess I'm gonna go through one way, and if it looks scary, I'm gonna rewind and go the other way.
Or I'm going to get a game over and go the other way and hope for the best.
That works too.
Hope there's not some mines in this one that I got to blow myself up with.
Yeah, but going back to your first point, I totally agree. The concept is awesome. I love everything about like the idea of this game.
Yeah.
Just like looking at it on screen is awesome. I really do truly wish that Sega had done more with the patent that they won. I would love to see like a Spider-Man game in this exact style.
Yeah.
Like with the branching paths and the comic book panels and all of that. Like there is so much room for opportunity here, and I think that the problem is that this came at the end of like the 2D console lifespan. If they had come up with this idea early on in the Genesis, we probably would have got a few more games in this style. But since they were moving on to the Sega CD and the Sega Saturn, and those failed epically, we just never got more of this style game. And I'm sure other companies couldn't really do something similar because Sega had the patent on it.
Yeah, I'm thinking about like Cuphead and like that sort of cool like 30s cartoon style, and I'm like, man, this feels like a great canvas to make a game from, or make some kind of. I mean, obviously, Sega could remake Comix Zone if they wanted. It probably wouldn't make a lot of sense. I don't imagine that, there's a lot of people out there clamoring for the Comix Zone remake, but I feel like I want to see something modern with this style. Like, I really like it.
I really do too. And I think that you could take this and make it into, there's so many like indie roguelike games out there right now.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is ripe for that kind of treatment.
Especially like with the comic theme. Like, even that alone lends itself to some pretty, a good variety of sort of comic book tropes, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
That would fit well.
Basically an endless well to mine.
Yeah.
You don't mine wells, but you get what I'm saying. You could mine a well. Say you're going down a well and you see, hey, there's some gold in the side of this well. Now it's not a well, it's a mine shaft.
Okay. What else do you have?
I love the graphics in this game. I think that they did a really good job. There are huge sprites. These are not tiny little Mario sprites. These are huge sprites with fluid animation.
Yeah.
And I love that. You also get some, it is a comic book page. And so like as you're fighting, like little shreds of paper will rip off and they'll float down, and you can actually like rip chunks off of the background and
turn them into a paper airplane.
Yeah, and use as a weapon. Like, I was just really impressed with the graphics. I think that they really hold up. I love everything about the way this game looks. There was 3 background artists I noticed that just did the backgrounds, and I think that really showed because there's 3 levels, and in each level there's 2 comic book pages that you play through.
There's 3 episodes, 6 levels.
There you go.
3 episodes.
3 episodes, and each episode has 2 pages. We got to use the game's terminology. And you don't ever feel like you're repeating anything. There's like a Mortal Kombat temple, and there's a desert, and there's a snow level, and there's like sewers, and like they do a good job of keeping it fresh, and you never get like sick of like, oh, I'm looking at the same animations or the same backgrounds. Every panel feels fresh, and I just thought the graphics were super well done.
Yeah, you don't get sick of looking at this game.
You don't. You don't.
But yeah, I also have that the game looks pretty good is what I wrote down.
It does.
So it's reassuring to hear you say the game looks good. I'm like, okay, good, yeah.
And even like the cutscenes, like it's art. It's not just like when you die and when you, what is it? Where's the screen where you see like the rat at the bottom of the screen? I think that's between
the whole game.
When it's like going to the next, it's going to the next episode. It'll have a little screen that tells you the name of the current like page that you're on, and it shows like your pet rat and like a soda can, and it's like just like really good high pixel level pixel art, and I don't know, I just liked looking at this game.
It was a soda can. It wasn't iced tea capsules.
That's true. We kept calling, there's like very infrequently, but there are health pickups in this game, and we kept calling them potions, and I looked at the manual and they're actually called iced tea. Or maybe sweet tea. Some sort of tea. Some sort of tea. But it's just a potion bottle.
Which didn't you say Sketch Turner likes soda, or does he like iced tea? Did you say something in the intro
in the
about
manual,
what he likes?
No, he likes microwave pizzas.
Oh, microwave pizzas.
Like they tell you that he lives in a loft.
Yeah.
In the Bowery, and then they tell you that's in New York. And it's like, okay, so this dude lives in New York, and apparently he's got a sweet apartment, a sweet loft that has a gargoyle outside of it. But the dude spent all of his money on his apartment, and he can't afford food, I guess, so he eats microwave pizzas. Which, like, you can buy a microwave pizza and toss it in the toaster oven, or just toss it in the oven, and it's a million times better. Don't microwave your pizzas, people. It's worth the extra 15 minutes to get it toasted.
You like crispy pizza.
Everybody likes crispy pizza. You like soggy pizza? You're not going to tell me.
Have this conversation?
You're not. No. Yes, we need to have this conversation. You like soggy pizza?
I put one. I don't eat pizza rolls really anymore.
I dunk my pizza in water to get it nice and soggy.
Yeah, right. No, my wife and I have different philosophies on the pizza rolls. I'm a microwave pizza roll person.
What is wrong with you?
She's a crispy.
Is that because you like the way they taste, or because you just don't want to wait for the oven?
I don't like a lot of crunch.
Oh, no.
I don't.
That's insane to me.
No.
We're coming up on the summer, and I'm gone most of the summer on trips. And one of the trips we go to, our summer camp is at a university, and so we have all these high school, middle school kids that are eating in a college cafeteria.
Yeah.
And college cafeterias have lots of food options, and so kids kind of go crazy. But there's also always pizza at every meal. There's a pizza station, so there's kids that will like eat pizza for every meal if you don't like tell them to eat a salad every now and then. And I have legit caught students, like, because they're on, like, their parents aren't around, and there's pizza every meal. I know
what you're gonna say.
dipping their pizza into their soda. Like, just take pizza, dip it into a glass of pop, and eating it. I'm like, you turn into savages when your parents aren't around, and that's sort of what I'm imagining you doing. Is just like, this pizza roll's too crusty. I'm gonna have to dip it in my soda to sog it up a bit.
No. Anyways, do you have anything else that the game does well?
I just want to say that I actually enjoyed this game a lot more than I should have.
Okay.
Like, I feel like we were kind of frustrated. The game is really hard, and we got stuck at some points. You were getting really frustrated.
I had a moment or three.
But, like, I came away from this game with overall positive feelings about it. I really like the way it looks. I love the concept of it. I don't think that it's, like... When you have save states and rewind, it's not like overly hard. And now that I know all of like the secrets, and I know like, okay, you need to use your little rat guide to find hidden objects, and you need to, there's ways that you can progress through the level without hurting yourself so much. And there's tricks to defeating each of the different kind of enemies. I think that like on another playthrough, I would have a better time. And the weird thing is, Dan, I'm not like coming up here and being like, I don't ever want to play this game again, which is usually how I feel after playing a lot of retro games. I don't know if it's because I have just like crazy nostalgia for comic books or something.
Yeah, this sounds like I liked Captain America and the Avengers because Captain America and the Avengers were in it.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't know. Nostalgia is the wrong word because I didn't read comic books as a kid. I read comic books as an adult. So I think it's just because I like the content. Like, I like the premise of this a lot. And it's not the hardest, most awfulest game we've played, which is saying a lot when you're talking about retro games.
Okay. I was trying to think. I feel like within the last 6 months, I felt like we played one of the worst games that we've ever played for the podcast, but I can't remember what it was. Because I was getting those vibes today.
No. That's why I said at one point you were getting so frustrated. I'm like, Dan, this game is better than Sonic Spinball. So you got to like recalibrate where you're going.
Well, I don't know if subconsciously I'm just like irritable today. So I was like primed for like being angry at a video game. But like,
this game is
moments where I was just like, no.
Infinitely better than Superman 64.
Yes, true.
Definitely better than Celebrity Deathmatch.
Debatable.
I'm trying to look at what we've played recently. Less frustrating than Bible Adventures.
That's true.
So those are probably the ones that you would be.
Goodness. Oh, it might have been Bible Adventures.
Yeah.
I think Bible Adventures might be the... besides Superman 64, those two might be the worst games that we've played for the podcast, but who knows?
Who knows?
All right, I don't have anything else what the game does well, Jordan.
Okay, I'm sure I'll have some other things to stick up and defend the game for when we get to the next section.
Okay. All right, let's move on to what the game doesn't do so well. Jordan, the first thing that I have that the game doesn't do so well is that you only have like one attack button. And this tends to make the game feel repetitive and shallow.
Yeah.
Now, you can, like, based on the directions you sort of input, like you could do like an uppercut or like jump kicks or whatever. But largely you have one attack button, and it makes this game sort of feel like there's not as much depth or control as you would normally like to have in a game like this. And
now, Dan, some of your favorite games only have one attack button. I'm thinking of all the NES Ninja Turtles games.
Well, yes.
Okay.
But those games feel less frustrating than this one.
That's sometimes true, yeah.
What do you mean that's sometimes true? I think, and I mean, part of too, why that's a little bit different is beat 'em ups tend to find the sweet spot of about 40 minutes.
Yeah.
So if you press one button for 40 minutes, like, cool.
That's fair.
But when a game is like cheaply killing you over and over and over and over again, and you're like wandering around, we'll get into some of this stuff in a little bit, but like, I think it didn't help this game's situation with another thing that I have is the AI is kind of cheap sometimes.
Yeah, and I think that one of the ways like good beat 'em ups deal with that situation is by giving you fine control over your character.
Yeah.
So you only have one button, but you can get really good at bouncing around the screen and getting behind your enemy and like getting where you want and really maneuvering to make the most out of your one button attack. Where this game, it's definitely not like terrible controls. This isn't like Bible Adventures where you're sliding around and everything feels really loose and slidey. But it's definitely not the tightest controls, and we did have trouble like really bopping around and maneuvering our guy the way we wanted to.
Yeah, I think the maneuverability in a traditional beat 'em up on like a broader plane is what makes that a little bit different. But this one is like you're fighting, and it's kind of, it almost feels like a bad version of like Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat, where you're like fighting guys one-on-one or like two guys at a time, and you're like having to, like, I don't know, jump in. They're blocking a bunch of your attacks. That's what another thing that's irritating about it is like, even if I get into a good position, you're randomly blocking. So it's like, I don't know, just the fighting in this game didn't, I mean, it's okay, but I just, at the end of the day, I was like, we were trying to figure out how to do some shoulder charge thing through some ice so that we took less damage, which we'll talk about in a second. And it's just like, I don't know, man, the attacks, I wanted to do stuff on purpose in this game with my attacks. It just didn't seem to be like I could do that. So I don't know. I feel like a lot of the issues with this game could have been resolved if there were difficulty settings. Yeah.
Some of the frustrating things were that enemies took way too many hits to kill, and when you have enemies.
Just enemies.
Well, no, and there's a lot of stuff in the environment that you have to destroy to like complete puzzles or progress to the next panel, and those take an obscene amount of hits to break, and each of those hits is hurting you because when you damage the comic, you're damaging the artist, I guess. They don't really explain that in the manual or in the story of the game. But yeah, it's
let's sit there for a minute because I actually have a couple of points that you just talked about. I said everything has too much health, including crates.
Yeah.
So like you have like these crates that have items in them, and then you also have like explosive crates, and sometimes the item crates will be on top of explosive crates, and so you have to punch them. And you think like, how many times should you have to hit like a crate that's going to break in a game? Like three times,
maybe max.
3? Yeah. This one's like what, 8, 9, 10, 20.
Yeah.
And then like sometimes you have to punch your way through like a panel, like the paper panel thing.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
The section.
So it's laid out like a comic book. So like the white lines between panels, sometimes you have to punch your way through those.
Yeah, it's just like everything takes, and then the enemies. And I read, I think on Wikipedia, that Sega wanted them to make this game harder towards the end. So they like probably were just like, everything gets more health. And so it's just like everything has too much health, including environmental stuff in this game. And it's just like...
Yeah, I did see on Wikipedia that the game was originally easier and that the Sega internal testing came back and said like, hey, we need to make this game harder. And the guy, the main guy who made the game wanted to push back. And he said his greatest regret about the game is not pushing back on the difficulty, and he wishes he would have left it how it was originally. Yeah. So that's on Sega. That's not on the developers. I mean, it is because they didn't push back, but it is kind of a bummer to wonder like, man, if this game was a little bit easier, would it have felt more like a classic beat 'em up and less like a slugfest? Well,
and here's one of the dumb things, and you did touch on this, but I actually have it as a point. Like, you lose health from like punching the environment. So this game will make you go whatever. You have to get through a door, a metal door.
Yeah.
And if you don't happen to have the item that is dynamite,
a grenade or a dynamite,
you have to go punch this door over and over and over too many times because it has too much health.
Yeah.
And you're losing health from progressing through the game. That the game you have to go this way, and we're taking away your health.
I think that
is so dumb.
It is. I have that as a point too, that damaging yourself to progress the game is not a great feature. I think part of the reasoning behind that is because it's not just a beat 'em up game. There is that like puzzle aspect to it, and so you have to kind of look for the hidden items. You have your rat sidekick who can find hidden items, and so I think a lot of times when you had a object like that we had to punch through and lose health, that's because we were missing some of those hidden items, and that like on a second playthrough maybe we would have less of that. But I agree, it's a terrible feature. Trying to like tie your puzzles to your health was not good, and that's like a kind of thing where like maybe if this game had an easy mode and a hard mode, the easy mode you wouldn't take environmental damage as much just from punching things or at all. So yeah, that is really frustrating, and it's just a bad feature.
That's another point that I have is progression feels really annoying at times in this game. It's like you have to wander around trying to figure out what you're supposed to do, or, oh, I was supposed to use that item from a couple panels ago here. That would have made this easier.
Yeah.
Or it's just like you ended up in a corner, like you ended up in one panel where all you had left were 2 explosive boxes.
And I had to blow them up.
And you had to blow them up. And the only way that you could blow them up was by punching them and taking a bunch of damage.
Yeah.
So it's like you can corner yourself in this game in weird ways. And it's just like, what? Like, this is poorly designed. Like, the only option shouldn't be to hurt myself to progress. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, why are you... This is like gauntlet siphoning your health from taking steps. It's like, no, just don't.
Which makes sense when you are an arcade machine that's only purpose is to steal people's money. Makes less sense when you're a game that somebody bought and you're not, there's no incentive for them to make the games obscenely hard, except for there was, because they didn't want people to rent the game, and beat it in a weekend and never buy it.
Or just beat it at all. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, that was just truly one of the worst things to happen to retro games was that whole like thing of having to make games obscenely hard because of the rental market.
Yeah.
I think to go along with all of these things, the fact that you only have one life,
That's what
it's bad.
you took the words right off my notes,
The
Jordan.
continue system isn't great, and it's kind of confusing on when you get a continue and when you don't get a continue.
I think you get one continue at the beginning of a new episode. So it's like
you get
when you get to episode
total.
2 on level 3, you get a continue. And then I think when you get to episode 3, which is level 5, you get another continue. I think is how that works.
Which is essentially giving you 3 lives to beat the game. You really do, if you're playing this in 2022 or in the future, you really do have to play this game on one of the modern collections where you have rewind and save states at the very least, because you're kind of a masochist if you are trying to, because like I'm saying, you have to go and memorize. There's very ideal ways to progress through these stages, and if you miss it, you have to die and go all the way back to the beginning of the game. So like if you don't want to just die and go back to the beginning of the game, it helps to have that save state, that rewind, and you can actually play it like a more modern game where you have more lives or continues or something.
Well, learning games is just a retro game thing, I think, in general. But supposedly, we didn't test this out, but supposedly there's like level select and infinite health cheats for this one. If you go in the jukebox and you like hit certain... it's basically a sound test. If you do the sound test in a certain order, apparently you can unlock certain cheats.
Okay.
So you can skip back to where you were, but... Like I said, we didn't test it, so it's like
I'm sure,
one of those like internet retro game cheats. I think it was GameFAQs or something. But
and if you've got a Retron, I'm sure there's a whole list of cheats you can load up in there.
Probably, who knows?
I would say if you're going to play this game, you absolutely 100% should start by reading the manual. A, it gives you the backstory that tells you what's happening in the game, and B, it has a whole bunch of helpful stuff in there, including every single enemy in the game and some little tips on the best way to fight them, which you learn while just playing the
creeps?
game. The creeps. So they're actually, I think all of the bad guys are called like Mortis's monsters or something like that. Or minions. I don't know. Something. It was alliterative. I would say definitely read the manual. You can find it if you just Google Comic Zone manual. It'll pop up.
Yeah.
Or I don't know if the collections have manuals built in or not.
I think sometimes they do, but I don't think the Genesis, like the current one on current platforms, does.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm fresh out of what the game doesn't do well, Jordan.
I got one
This
more
is a video game.
One more. One of our least favorite things in retro video games is gotcha traps.
Oh.
And this game's got a few of them. You could argue that getting stuck in a panel with where you have to blow yourself up to get to the next one is a gotcha trap. There are these question mark things that will most of the time give you an item and sometimes just blow you up, and there's nothing you can do about it. That's a gotcha trap.
Yeah.
There are some panels that you enter and you're instantly getting hit by an enemy, and there's almost nothing you can do to avoid it. That's a gotcha trap. Just things like that are their only purpose is to hurt you and make the game less fun and harder. Are not great. It's one of the worst tropes in retro video games, and this one doesn't have a ton of them, but it has enough of them to be annoying.
Yeah. We also, as you were talking about the bosses, I feel like the bosses were kind of...
They were fine.
You thought they were fine?
Yeah, I thought they were fine.
I thought they were pretty...
I thought that the final
awful.
boss was actually
The
kind of...
bosses are just gotcha traps.
I thought the final boss was actually a well-done boss. As far as like...
This was the only
16-bit.
boss that he didn't play. He played the other two.
But like the design of it was interesting. You had a switch at the bottom which fired the rockets, and you could use that.
Never mind.
Not a Nintendo Switch. You had a lever that would fire the rockets, and you could use that to attack the boss. There was a lever up in the middle of the area which would drain fuel. So they take your girlfriend, Alyssa Cyan, and they put her in this nuclear weapon that's filling up with gasoline, I guess, and she's drowning. And so you can use one lever to drain the fuel and the other lever to attack if the bad guy is on the floor. And like he wasn't crazy hard. I think if you would have had a full health bar to fight him, you would have got him on the first time instead of the second time. So I actually thought that last boss battle was unique and interesting and not as awful as many retro game bosses that you fight.
Not as bad as fingernail explosions.
Yeah, that wasn't great. So
fire and water.
Honestly, they could have made a lot of the boss fights better just by giving you a health pickup before the boss. Because
they're stingy with the health in this game.
So often you get to the final boss of a stage and your health is almost depleted, and so That's what makes it hard, not necessarily the boss themselves.
Yeah, well, even like from page to page or whatever. So it's like episode 1, 2, and 3, 6 levels. Level 1 to level 2, they don't refill your health. You're just up a creek if you had low health at the end of state. It's like, really? I don't know.
Then after 2,
It's
you
just
get a full
harder
health
than it
bar.
needs to be, yeah.
After 2, after 4, you got a full health bar.
if you can beat them.
Yeah.
If you can beat them. But, all right, man. You got anything else?
That's going to be it for me.
All right, let's move on to the rest of our show.
All right, Dan, what would you pay for the experience you just had with Comix Zone on the Sega Genesis?
I didn't think about this till just now.
That's great. That's how this is supposed to go.
Well, sometimes you get a sense of it beforehand.
That's fair.
$5 is where my gut is just screaming right now.
Yeah, I feel like that's where I am too.
Really?
Yeah.
So that's a lot for you and
Yeah.
not a lot for me.
Yeah. This is why relativity is interesting.
Einstein?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. E equals MC squared and all that. So this one is interesting. We didn't talk about the fact that there is a Game Boy Advance version of this game.
Yeah, it was a PAL.
Yep, it was only released in the PAL.
I think, yep.
So we got a
it's
Genesis
also,
release.
I read that the PAL version, the Game Boy Advance version, has like less screen real estate, so you can't like see the edge of the comic panels as much or something.
Yeah, each panel is just its own screen. You don't.
Something like that. So.
All right. So what do you think a loose copy on Sega Genesis, North American Sega Genesis, is going for?
Okay. So this game, I feel like it is a popular game. I feel like a lot of people have fond feelings and memories of Comix Zone. I don't feel like it's ultra rare, but it's a Sega Technical Institute, Sega published game. Therefore, there's probably not a shortage of them.
Yeah. Came out late in the lifespan.
Yep. So if you add the last 2 years with the increase in the retro game market with a not rare game, it probably goes up about $4. So I'm going to say $16.
No, it's just right under $25.
Oh.
$24.72. So that's for a loose copy. So we talked about how the game shipped with a bonus CD in the US,
Yeah.
remember? So there's a lot of, if you want to buy this game, if you're like a complete collector, you got to be careful because there are a lot of listings for complete versions of this that don't have the bonus CD, which means that it's not complete, right?
Yeah.
So the complete price that you'll see on PriceCharting is kind of
It's
misleading.
box and manual
Yeah.
and game.
But if you want, Dan, what do you think that actual complete copies are going for with the bonus CD intact?
So like fully complete, you gave me that, you opened your eyes a little bit. You gave me like that sort of look, like, this is much higher than you think. So
Don't you dare read into my looks.
My gut was saying, like maybe $60, but now I'm thinking I got to go up for just more like $86 for a complete copy.
No, so the
$106 for a complete copy.
Try somewhere between $200 and $240. The CDs are extremely rare. I only saw 3 sales in the last year that actually had that bonus CD. I think that the bonus CD in the US was the one with the bands that we talked about, and they did include a bonus CD in Europe too, but it was just like the soundtrack.
Oh, it had Aha on it?
No. All right, so $25 loose.
So you said how much with the CD? 200
to 240 still.
Oh my goodness.
Like 10 times more.
I'll have to look up that playlist on Spotify.
The 3 bands that I only knew 2 of the bands. I had never heard of the rest of them. Okay.
You're not edgy and cool.
I'm not. What do you think the PAL region, Mega Drive version of Comix Zone is going for?
Mega Drive version of Comix Zone. Okay. So PAL regions like the Mega Drive
Yep.
a lot. I feel like Mega Drive games probably are cheaper because
They have a way cooler name, though.
They do have a way cooler name, but I feel like I don't know if Sega won the war across the seas, across the pond, if versus Nintendo. I think Nintendo won the war here, but I think Sega won it everywhere else, except for Japan. So the entire PAL region.
What's your guess?
$14.
No, it's $58.
No!
PAL tax. That's a classic case of PAL tax.
Oh.
The Game Boy Advance copy you can pick up for about $32. And here's a really fun one, Dan. The Japanese version for the Sega Mega Drive, they have a different box art. Instead of like North American comic book art, it's like manga.
Okay.
What do you think a Japanese Sega Mega Drive version of Comix Zone is going for? Loose.
You're okay. So you're asking me, which means that this is a fun thing to guess.
It is a fun thing to guess.
$90.
Yeah, so these are apparently extremely rare. So much so that they hardly ever sell. And PriceCharting has a loose copy going for $711.
What? Of Comix Zone?
Yeah.
Just the Japanese version of Comix Zone.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. I know the some of the games on the Mega Drive Genesis collection on modern platforms have the Japanese ROMs as well. They have like the alternate. I don't know if it's Japanese and some of them are PAL, but like you could play like Bare Knuckle 3 instead of Streets of Rage 3 if you want. So I wonder if that would be on that collection or not.
I don't know. I don't know what's different besides the box art. If you do want that cool manga box art, you're going to be paying up to right around $900 for a complete copy. And it doesn't even look like it comes with a Bowden CD at all. That's just box and manual. So, yeah, that's wild.
Nope.
So, Dan, knowing that, you can get a loose copy for $25. Also, this is on the Genesis collection, which frequently goes on sale for like $10 to $15 with 50 other Sega Genesis games. Knowing all that, Comix Zone, worth it or worthless? Worthless. I gotta say, on its own at $25, definitely worthless. As part of that collection,
Still worthless.
I don't know that I've gotten my $15 out of the Sega Genesis collection yet.
Really?
Yeah, $25 is
that collection is definitely worth $15. It's definitely worth more than that.
I think. Yeah, I don't know if I paid $10 or $15 for it, but I mean,
Streets of Rage 2. It's all you need. That collection, they could have literally just put Streets of Rage 2 on there, and it's worth.
There you go.
Full price.
That collection, that collection is definitely worth $10 to $15 if you want to wish list it and wait for it to go on sale. I wouldn't pay the $20 to $25. That's just me though. So I'm gonna say Comix Zone on its own, worthless. As part of that bundle, yeah, go for it.
I don't know.
I think it's definitely worth playing.
I didn't have fun today. I did
have fun.
It was like, so here's my experience with Comix Zone. I feel like it's similar to my experience with Sonic Spinball, where at first I'm like, yeah, okay. And then after a while I'm like, yeah, I'm over this. Like I'm distinctly over this.
You didn't have a good time with this.
And that is less than 20 minutes of like enjoyment and novelty of like, yeah, this is it's just
I feel like the hour 45 went by quickly. I think it helped to have somebody to pass back and forth, which is a really fun way to play retro single player games because you need that release valve of when you're like, you're getting stuck, you're getting frustrated, hand it off to somebody else, let them deal with it. They can usually break through because they're not going to be getting frustrated in the same way that you are. I had a good time with this. I think it is a fun game. It has problems. It's not a perfect game by any means. I don't think it's me. I'm not going to spend $25 on this game. So that's why I'm saying worthless. But I think it is a game that if you have the collection, you should definitely play, definitely check out. It's really unique. It's not like any other game that I've played. And I think it is a good time, especially once you learn all the quirky ins and outs of it.
Well, Comix Zone, like before today, would have been one of those games that I'd never beaten. But I would have been like, yeah, I played this at like a kiosk or like, time to time in the past. And I would have been like, yeah, Comix Zone seems like an interesting game that I'd like to play through. And now that I've beaten it, I'm just like, I don't think I need to play Comix Zone ever again.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm like, I don't know. I'm walking away from this one where it's like
we're reversed from our normal our normal
no,
stances.
thank you. But
there you go. Comic Zone.
Comic Zone. Jordan, do we have trivia?
So here's the thing. The trivia that I had was the fun facts, and they were too fun not to include in the fun facts. So I even went and looked at the CD listing to see if there were any other bands I could try to get you with on the track listing, but they're also obscure that it wouldn't have been fun.
Now, a CD in 1995, that would have been a really nice pack-in, just in general.
Yeah.
You just weren't, They weren't just throwing CDs around back then.
No.
You had to pay good money for CDs in the 90s. I remember when it was like a big deal to pay $13 or $14 for a CD. Yeah. And now you just have, my son's going to grow up in a world with Spotify where it's like, let's listen to Mario music in the car, Dad. I'm like, all right, let's listen to Mario music. Cool, done.
Yeah, no, it's great.
So that's a really interesting. I wonder what that cost them to do that.
Oh yeah, I have no idea.
That's where all the money went.
They were all. Actually, I think it was probably a paid promotion because it said that they were all on the same record label. So I'm guessing that record label was printing a sampler, which samplers were given away for free everywhere. Okay. Like you go to a festival, you're getting dozens of samplers. So I think
in the 90s though.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Samplers were huge. I mean, half of my CD booklet was samplers because that's how you would find out about new bands. There wasn't the internet to go and there was, but we didn't have it to go and look up new music. It was you saw somebody. And so
Pure Volume hadn't started yet.
You could go to Dearborn Music or whatever your local CD place was, and they would often have a stack of free samplers.
Yeah.
It was you go to Blockbuster and you pick up a free demo of AOL. You go to the record store and you pick up a free sampler because they knew that, oh man, you hear that one song, you really love that band, you're going to come back and pay the $18 to $20 for their actual full CD.
Goodness.
So sampler, they could have just got that record label to pay for that.
Yeah, probably would have been good promotion.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it was.
Now how many tracks were on it? Did you close it? You didn't look. All right, whatever. It doesn't matter.
No, it was. I think it was 15-ish.
Okay. All right. Jordan, moving on to our eShop apocalypse. This is not over yet.
Oh.
It's not over till it's over. Let's give a shout out to
somebody
to the eShop.
Yeah.
Or Nintendo kills that poor thing.
I was being a grump about this segment, and then somebody came on Discord and they're like, I actually bought some of the stuff that Dan mentioned. So there you go. There's Dan and this one other person here. eShop apocalypse. Let's listen in. Let's listen in on their mail. No, Shanks said he didn't buy anything.
No, he bought a game. He bought a game that I recommended off the eShop, which I actually thought about. It was a ogre battle, something Nintendo 64.
Ogre
expensive.
Tactics.
It's one of those ogre games that he was like, oh, that's a thing. I'm gonna go get that.
All right,
but that's not what we're talking about today.
Let's hear what you got.
Today we got NES games, Jordan.
Oh, okay.
You know what you can get for $5 instead of paying a handsome 3 figures for?
What?
Ninja Gaiden 3 and Mighty Final Fight.
These are some of the better. Yeah, these are some of the better ones that you've done. Mighty Final Fight.
These are the.
There you go. Mighty Final Fight is an interesting game.
Episode 36.
Episode 36. It's like a chibi version of Final Fight. Crazy expensive. It actually came up my time hop today. I think
$317. I looked it up today.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Yeah,
which was around $200 when we covered.
That's insane.
The game because it popped up 2 years ago. I posted about Final Fight.
It's unreal.
Mighty Final Fight.
Yeah, Ninja Gaiden 3 going for about $100 right now on the NES. So, yeah. Get it before Nintendo doesn't let you get it anymore. Although I feel like Ninja Gaiden, I don't know why we haven't gotten proper, that I know of. I mean, I could be wrong. I don't think I am. But we haven't gotten proper updated versions of I think Ninja Gaiden 2 and 3.
What was the game that came out last year that was a spiritual successor and people were going crazy over it?
The Messenger?
Yeah, that one.
I think I played that a little bit of that on Game Pass, and I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, maybe that's why, is because people have just made modern versions.
But yeah, I think Ninja Gaiden 3 hasn't been re-released. So go check that out on your Wii U before you can't.
Yeah.
Before you can't. Because if you have an NES Mini, you take the NES gamepad, plug it in the bottom of your Wiimote or your Wii remote, and then you got your NES on your HD TV with the Wii U. You guys like the Wii U? All right. He's so disappointed.
How long do we have to keep doing this for?
Maybe we'll stop in August. I don't know. I think August is when you can no longer. What is it? They stopped taking cards.
I regret
credit
asking.
cards.
I regret
in
asking.
May, and I think after August you can't add funds to your wallet.
Okay.
So.
All right. There it is. Wii Shop Apocalypse.
The Wii Shop Apocalypse. I like that.
I mean, you love your puns. Speaking of puns, Dan, do we know what the pun for July is going to be? Do we have it?
We do. It's bad. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's bad. It's worse. It's worse seeing it in writing than hearing it spoken. When he texted it to me, I was like, no, Dan, that doesn't even make sense. But then when you hear it, it's also terrible, but it's somehow less terrible.
Jordan, July, we're gonna finally give a shout out to our PC people.
Yeah.
July
PC Master Race, I think is what they call themselves.
July is gonna be July-sinal computer.
July-sinal computer. You guys hear this? It's like personal computer.
But July.
But with an extra syllable and no similar letters. So there you go.
Jordan, I've been trying to find a way. I mean, I suppose we could.
Hey, I'm on board because we're gonna cover some games that I'm interested in.
Yeah, I couldn't. I mean, we could have just been like July's PC month, but like what we do around this podcast is come up with terrible names for things. Like last year we did July,
which was not like a thing that like when we were brainstorming about this podcast. That was not.
It just happened.
It just
one day.
happened.
Yeah.
I think it probably was because of Poke Month.
Yeah, probably.
And then it just kept going. And then you had like Sega Genesis maybe was like the first real.
Yeah. Then you had like Extreme Sports Timber.
Yeah.
We did our Augiversary.
Julami.
Okami.
No.
December. Disney.
Here you go. This is May the Force be with you. Maybe the Force be with you.
Yeah. So we got.
Here we are.
July-sinal computer.
July-sinal computer.
We did it.
Do we know?
Yeah, we're doing it, Jordan. We're doing it. Tell them what we're playing for episode 98.
Guys, I'm so excited. It's not often that we get to play a game that I'm interested in. And here we are. We're playing Roller Coaster Tycoon, baby. One of the greatest games ever invented.
We'll
Definitely one of the games that I've put more hours into than any other game. I hope Dan likes it. I hope with my whole being. He asked me today, how much of this game do I have to play?
No, it wasn't.
He was trying to understand because
my tone.
I know. It's
like
because there's like an infinite number of scenarios, and you could basically play this game for the rest of your life.
I was asking
he was wondering,
Jordan,
like, what does he have to do to get like a full understanding of it?
Yeah. Do I have to play this for 40 hours, like Knights of the Old Republic, or is this like that's? It wasn't like I don't want to play Roller Coaster Tycoon.
My hope is that he plays 3 scenarios, and that makes him so in love with this game that the next time I see him, I come back from my trips and he's got like half of the scenarios all done, perfected. So we'll see what happens. I'm really looking forward to this. If you haven't played Roller Coaster Tycoon, I would highly recommend you pick it up. You can get it on your phone or your tablet or your
I got it on
Switch. You can get it
Steam
on your Switch
for a few dollars, like several, like I don't know, 6 months ago or something.
Yeah,
so
highly worth it.
Every time Roller Coaster Tycoon, I feel like comes up on Discord or like Patreon or something, I feel like people are like, I love Roller Coaster Tycoon, so I have high expectations for it. So
well, that's a recipe for disaster.
It's finally my time to hurt Jordan's feelings.
Probably. I mean, we did Rampart already.
Rampart, that's
phenomenal game.
It's okay. It's all right.
All right, guys. We will see you in July. I hope that you have an excellent rest of your Sega Genesis and play some Sega games.
Don't play Comic Zone.
No, play it. I think if you haven't played it before, you owe it to yourself to play it.
Enjoy Sega Genesis. Don't play Comic Zone. Don't play Sonic Spinball. But when Cowabunga Collection comes out, whenever that is, make sure you go play Hyperstone Heist in honor of Sega Genesis.
Dan likes one Sega game.
That's not true. That's not true.
We liked Gunstar Heroes.
Yeah, it's okay, Contra.
It's better than Hardcore. Definitely better than Contra Hardcore.
All right, my friends, we will see you with the Roller Coaster Tycoon in a couple weeks. Thanks for listening, and have a great summer.
Hags.
Bye. Guys, thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, we'd greatly appreciate it if you left us a rating or review wherever you're listening, and if you shared the show with other retro gaming fans in your life. If you're looking for more retro gaming content, check out worthitoworthless.com, where you can find things like reviews, guides, game recommendations, and of course, all of our relevant links. I hope you have a great day. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Thanks.